Hey folks, this episode of Fall Obsession Podcast is driven by Hoot Camo. We started rocking the Hoot gear last year during the 2023 season. Actually, my first hunt in Hoot Camo was up in Colorado in the flatland spot and stalk mule deer hunt. You guys can catch that video on our YouTube channel. Got into 28 yards on an awesome mule deer buck, my first mule deer buck, with first shot with the bow. That's episode 166 of our podcast, and like I said, video on YouTube if you guys want to check that out. But can't say enough about the Hoot gear. I'm rocking a hoodie right here in the podcast video if you guys are watching. The gear is very versatile. The patterns are multifunctional as far as the environments that they live in. I was impressed with it up in Colorado. We hunted in the snow and in the flatland plains, the CRP fields, and then came back down here to Texas. And we were hunting in the hardwoods, the tree stands, the ground blinds, all that good stuff. And the Hoot Camo, just, again, can't say enough about it. So go check them out, hootcamo.com. If you guys want to place an order and save some money on some already affordable, high-quality outdoor gear, you can use the code FALLOBSESSION15 at checkout. And that's going to knock some dollars off for you guys. Elite Archery is also a podcast partner. Been shooting Elite for several years. I think 2017, 2018 was the first year that I had an Elite bow in my hand, and I haven't looked back. Loved rocking their Omnia last year. Looking forward to their Ethos this year. So if you guys haven't shot an Elite bow, or you haven't shot one in a long time at least, I encourage you guys to go to your local dealer, take the Elite Shootability Challenge, and see what you think. That's the ultimate way that you're going to know if you like it or not. So go check out Elite Archery at your local dealer. Let us know what you think, and who knows, maybe you found your next bow. The Outdoor Call Radio app is another podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Fall Obsession podcast episodes play on that loop every single Monday, which is the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. So go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you follow their Facebook page and Outdoors Dan on social media. He does a couple of different live radio shows, a couple different times a week, and he streams those broadcasts on his Facebook if you guys aren't local to the radio stations he's on. So go follow along, Outdoors Dan, the Outdoor Call Radio app, and download the app today for free. Finally, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is another podcast partner. Derek Eves over there in Mississippi, he books hunts with vetted and trusted outfitters across the country. So if you're looking for that next hunt, perhaps that once-in-a-lifetime hunt you've been saving up for, give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details and find something that's going to work for you with a vetted and trusted outfitter. Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Go check them out. Finally, whatever platform you guys are listening to this podcast episode on, please be sure that you follow and subscribe, whatever they have up there for you, if you have not already. We drop new episodes weekly of our show, as well as episodes of our Texas Dirt, Midwest Mindset, Couch Chats. You can find those all streaming on Carbon TV, as well as this podcast. And go to our website, fallobsession.com. Check us out on there. We got tons of different hunting and outdoor educational content, subjects and items on there, written articles, gear reviews, all of our shows, you name it, it's on there. Pick you up some merch. We got some new designs that hit our store recently, especially during turkey season here. And if you guys are hunting turkeys this year, I encourage you guys to sign up for our turkey hunt competition. It is still going on, and you can still register as long as you still have a tag in your pocket. So go to fallobsession.com. You'll find everything on there. And then, of course, there's social media. Wherever you guys are active on social media, Fall Obsession is on there as well. So be sure that you follow along and enjoy the hunting and outdoor journey with us. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We're going over to the episode. You're listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here at Fall Obsession. Thank you for tuning in. We're doing something different this week, and that's why the intro that you guys just went through went straight to the partners and everything, because today it's just me. We don't have a guest or anything on our show, and 185 episodes before this one, and it has always been at least two different people conversating with one another, if not more. And this is the first time we've done a solo podcast. I have gone back and forth over the years, and especially in recent months, wondering if that's even something that I should consider. The one side of it is that we want to ensure that you guys are getting new content every single week. But I also want it to be worth your while as well as mine. I don't want it just to seem like I'm getting on here and rambling about some random subject that I decided to talk about that week just so that we can say that we put out a podcast episode. That's not the intent. But recently, a couple weeks ago, we had a gap in our publication schedule and we had a week off. And actually, it was a friend of mine, Johnny Mac from Soul Seekers, who reached out and asked, hey, saw you didn't have a podcast episode this week. And I explained to him, what all we had going on and why we took a week off. And his response was, well, have you ever thought about doing a solo episode? I was like, I've thought about it. I don't really want to, because I just don't feel like that's our show. That's not what we do. And him and I talked about it for a little bit, and he gave me some perspective on it. And I do think that, there are times and places where something like this could be appropriate. I actually, in preparation for this episode, I actually went and listened to some other hunting or outdoor, not even exclusively hunting and outdoor podcasts, but just other podcasts where the host did solo episodes, because I was like, I don't want it to sound like I'm just, diving into, blowing smoke up your butt or anything like that. So this is different. This is a first for us. And I honestly, at this point, I don't know how long or short I'm going to talk. This could be a long episode. It could be a short one, but I do have some things that I want to talk about, and relevant to the time and season that not just, we're in when it comes to hunting the outdoors, but that we as Fall Obsession are right now as an organization, our shows are right now, like as this podcast, for example, and then that I'm in personally right now. And you guys are kind of going to get to hear me open up a little bit and kind of be a little bit more vulnerable, I guess, about, some of my personal stuff than, you might have in past episodes or recent episodes, whatever it might be. But I've titled this episode Passion or Pastime. And you can Google both of those and get the technical definitions. I certainly did when I was considering, what is going to be an appropriate title to allude to this conversation and what I'm going to talk about. And so I did. I Googled those words and other words, trying to figure out what best suited the topic. And passion is, commonly defined as strong and barely controllable emotion. We all think of it as in regards to hunting the outdoors or something else, a sport, an activity, something else that you know and love. It's just you're all about it. It's part of your identity. And pastime can be interpreted different ways. It can be spelled different ways as well. But the most accommodating explanation I think I found, or definition, is something that amuses or serves to make time pass agreeably. Some people talk about it as more, something that you enjoy doing, like a hobby, but it's probably not to the level where you're just passionate about it. And then there's some spellings or interpretations of pastime that is just something that you're literally doing just to make the time go by. And I've titled this episode that because for outdoor content creators, for a media production company even, such as ourselves, it's not easy, and it's not always enjoyable. And I'm speaking from experience on that. And I'm gonna dive into that, and we're gonna unpack that statement that I just made and everything, or at least try to. But outside of hunting and outside of Fall Obsession, I have multiple passions personally. I'm speaking for myself here on this show. Family obviously is a big one. That should come first and foremost. Without my family, without the role models in my life, without, all those who make the day-to-day worth it, none of us have anything. Doesn't matter what kind of organization you run or are a part of, or what kind of job you have. Family should always come first, and that's first and foremost. As you guys know good and well, hunting is a huge passion of mine. I've been hunting since I was a little kid, growing up with my dad, and I have him to thank for instilling that passion, that identity, if you will, that hunting in the outdoors has taken in my life. Anybody that you meet or interact with that knows me, even outside of hunting, they know I'm a hunter. I was working with some folks the other day, and that came up. Just I forget even how it came up, but somebody who is not a hunter literally described me. One of the first things that they mentioned when they were describing me was a hunter, and that was apparent that that's a part of my identity. That's who I am. I identify as a hunter and outdoorsman, and people recognize me as that. And that's how it is for anybody that's passionate about hunting in the outdoors, right? We all have been at, out to dinner or at shows or wherever you might have been where you would not normally run into another hunter or outdoorsman, but when you do, you strike up a conversation and then you're best friends. We've all been there, we've all experienced that. And that's the identity that I'm talking about, right? The other identity, the other passion that I have in my life is as a firefighter. And if you guys have listened to this show, you know and understand that myself and Nick, who's our production director here at Fall Obsession, and we have a few other folks on our pro and field staff that share this profession as well, but we don't work full-time for Fall Obsession. We're firefighters full-time. And for me, there's a phrase applicable to both worlds, I guess, both the fire service and hunting, that I've taken to heart and that really resonates with me a lot, and that is it who you are or what you do? And with the fire service, there's plenty of guys out there, and I could name many of them, that it's just a job for them. It's just what they do. It's how they make a paycheck, and there is significance to that. Don't get me wrong. If I was not getting a paycheck for being a firefighter, I wouldn't be a firefighter. I would be doing something else, because as we all, it goes without saying, as we all know, you got to make money to live, right? And to have a family and all that kind of stuff. So you got to have a profession, you got to have a job, you got to have income. If I wasn't getting paid to be a fireman, I wouldn't be a fireman. But I'm grateful to have a job that I love in that, and it's part of my identity, the same as hunting is. If you ask somebody who is Sam Thrash, firefighter and hunter are going to be in there somewhere. And I guess where I'm going with that, and why I want to talk about that, and why I bring that up, why I'm talking about identity, is because for me, it has been challenging sometimes to manage multiple things that I'm passionate about. And I find that one or the other is often filling the passion role, and the other falls to more of a pastime role, something that I do enjoy, but it's not holding the significance that the other held. And I'm recording a podcast about this, and I'm talking about this because lately, for me, and take this as you want, I guess, but lately for me, hunting has felt more like that pastime. Fall Obsession has felt more like that pastime. And in the firefighting world, at my agency that I work for, I'm very involved in a lot of different ways in our organization's training programs. And then recently I'm now having the opportunity to get more involved in training programs from an instructor standpoint outside of just my own organization, which is awesome, and I love it. And I've found a strong part of my identity in being a fireman, and I've been asked a lot lately, and I'm trying to be relatively generic here because I understand that not a lot, unless you are a firefighter, you're not going to understand the inner workings of the fire service. But at least where I am local to, I'm at a very young department. I'm in a very young region. I'm in a region that's hurting for candidates, and I'm in a region that is hiring folks that are essentially straight out of high school sometimes. So young guys that are getting into this profession with no real life experience beforehand. And I see that, and in certain aspects, I see the negative effects of it. And then my passion for teaching and training through being a firefighter, through being an instructor, I have developed an equal passion for trying to build good firemen, trying to bring up masters of the same craft in the field that I'm in, because and where I was going with that is, there's been a lot of people that have pressured me recently for promotion. Are you going to test? Are you going to test? Are you going to promote? And to me, I'm just like, no, I love where I'm at. I want to stay where I'm at because I feel like there's a need for somebody in my role right now that has more time and experience at that level, at that rank, but has a willingness and a passion and a desire to teach and instruct and influence from that seat. Excuse me. And so that's in a nutshell. I'm getting a little bit off on a rabbit trail with some of that, but that's kind of where my head has been recently with my job and loving my job. I'm very involved with our union, our firefighter association as well, and trying to build and maintain relationships through that, both within our organization, within our members and the ranks, and then also with the higher ups in the department, and working to build something that is going to benefit an organization for the future. So I say all that, and I've gone around this a couple times now, I feel like, but I say all that to provide some context as to where my head has been recently. And, the jokes about firefighters, or I don't know if it's a joke even, but, the persona that is that, we work great schedules to where, we're at a fire station for long periods of time, but then we're off for long periods of time. I work for 48 hours at a time, but then I'm off for 96 hours at a time. So when you have a schedule like that, most firemen, have side jobs. Commonly you have lawn care, pool service, roofing companies, Christmas lights. There's all sorts of different things going on in a firefighter's, side gig world. And for me, Fall Obsession existed before I was a career firefighter, but it's become a company, it's become a brand, it's become an organization since I've been doing this job, and I've been grateful that I've had the time to be able to set aside to try and grow this brand. But again, that goes back to, I feel like there are times where hunting is my strong passion, and I feel like firefighting kind of takes that pastime role, and it also happens to be my job. And there's times like where I'm at right now where I feel like that firefighting role is my passion, and that whole world is, the biggest part of my identity. And Fall Obsession and hunting have become more of the pastime, and times like those are where I struggle with it, right? Because there are so many people out there that, and I don't want to make this sound like y'all rely on our content, because I know you don't, but there are so many people out there that, enjoy what we offer, enjoy the platforms and the content and then the productions that we bring, that I feel like it's not fair to people sometimes that, I'm being pulled in two different directions. And we have a great organization here at Fall Obsession, but the other part of that is, while we are a company, while we do make money as an organization, like obviously you guys can go, like I talked about at the beginning of this episode, to fallobsession.com, and you can order a t-shirt, and you are paying Fall Obsession money, but you are not paying me money. You're not paying our staff money. You're paying the organization, and we as an organization, we want to grow this brand. We want to build this into something bigger. And because of that, we all agree to reinvest that money that you guys pay us, that we get, through different avenues of revenue as an organization. We reinvest that money back into the company because we want the company to succeed. We want to grow. We want to build. So you have a lot of people within this organization that are putting in a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of effort, and not getting paid for it, and they're not complaining about it. And this is not me complaining about it. Please don't perceive it as such. But that goes back to the reliability standpoint. There are expectations that have to be met, both from outside looking in, from what you guys are seeing as a content creation standpoint, and then from within. A great example is our staff manager, Todd Sellen. Todd is a full-time educator. He's a teacher up in Michigan and has been for a very long time. And he in recent years took on the role as our staff manager at Fall Obsession. So all of the pro and field staffers that you see contributing content to our platforms, Todd is over that entire wing of our company, if you will. And for me, as we've grown, like the field staff, the pro staff, when those programs began and started developing, I oversaw them myself just because of the small size of our company. And I've told Todd this, Todd knows this, of how it was difficult for me to hand all that off, because it was something that, I had been very involved in, but Todd came into that role at the right time because I needed to focus my time and energy that I could put into Fall Obsession elsewhere. And I needed somebody like him to be able to run the staff programs. And Todd has done a phenomenal job. He continues to do a phenomenal job of that, as well as our staff coordinators, in different regions that are under him, and so on and so forth. But, we've grown and we've developed to where we were able to delegate those certain things down. But at the end of the day, we're still a small organization. We can only do so much. And I guess that's what I struggle with is, running a company. Nick and I are the only two that edit, and, all the other miscellaneous things that come and go throughout managing this business, in addition to ensuring that we have content every week, every day, whatever it might be. There are times when that's challenging. And Todd and I have a shared sheet that we update every week that's called our publication schedule, where we line out every week what we're publishing. Hey, on this day at this time, we're going to post this. And we do that. We make that schedule a week at a time, and it has some flexibility in it, don't get me wrong. But, it's frustrating sometimes because you can't always publish. I'll speak for myself. I can't always publish when I need to or when I expected to. I just talked about how I work 48 hours at a time, and I can schedule some posts ahead of time and everything, but Todd can tell you, from the other side of that, there's days where stuff gets missed. There's days where I have to flex a schedule because of my own personal schedule or my professional schedule and what I have going on. And so that's the joys of running a media production company, that's the look behind the curtain, I guess, of Fall Obsession, and how we're trying to juggle everything, because at the end of the day, like I said, none of us work full time for this organization. Every single person within Fall Obsession has another job that is their primary source of income. And that's the other thing that I, as the owner and operator, have to tell folks is that we, family comes first, and your profession, your job, your source of income should never come second to Fall Obsession. Like if you need to work, if you need to take some time or whatever the case might be because of things that are more important than this organization, then it's a no-brainer, and but sometimes I feel like I'm kind of stuck in that rut, you know, and man, and this is why I don't like these solo podcasts and why I've never done one before. Because again, I don't want this to sound like I'm complaining to you guys and complaining to our listeners. That's not the impression that I'm trying to give. This is, I'll get to my point eventually, I guess. But you know, passion versus pastime and managing your identity. I guess you have to have balance, right? In every aspect of your life, and you don't have to have a side job, you don't have to have a side business or anything like that to have to have managing of your time be a priority in your life. And I shouldn't, I would hope I don't have to tell everybody that or go into detail on that. That's kind of a given in my mind, but it's easy to let that get out of hand, or it's easy to get discouraged, and that's where I go back and forth, right? I've already talked about how my two passions in life will flip-flop from passion to pastime and everything, but you know, there's always something that pulls me back in to one side or the other. You know, I can be in a slump at one point in time with one or the other, and then, you know, I'll go on a hunt, or at work I'll go to a training or whatever it might be, and there's something that just lights a fire under me again and draws me back in. But you know, and I'll talk about this a little bit, and I've mentioned this on our show before in various conversations with various guests over the years, but having a show, and I'm talking about like a hunting show, not necessarily a podcast. I can talk about the podcast, but having a hunting show, a TV show, for lack of a better term, just to generalize it, it sucks, and I'm not looking for sympathy with that by saying that, but it's a lot of work. You have to not only have a plan as far as, okay, what am I doing for episodes? What's my show going to be about and all that kind of stuff, but the actual filming of it is the most challenging thing, especially when you do 95% self-filming like we do on Texas Dirt, for example. And the other side of that, and the struggle that I had a lot last year, and probably why I would say hunting down here in Texas last year definitely, it definitely contributed to feeling like hunting was sloping into a pastime for me. And that was just because we were putting in so much work out at our place, and constantly having problems. We were constantly having issues with our feeders or our fences or our stands or whatever the case might be. And I felt like I could not go out there and hunt. I mean, I would go out there and I would hunt, but in between morning and evening hunt out there, I would spend every single day, every time I went out, working on something. And to me, hunting and the outdoors has always held a piece of that identity, that passion that never will change, that has never changed and never will, is the decompression part, right? Being able to go out in the woods and forget everything, especially when, you know, even as passionate as I am about being a firefighter and a paramedic, that job has a lot of its own stresses that it comes with. And there's a lot of things that a first responder deals with that the normal average Joe doesn't. And for me, hunting outdoors, it's my outlet, right? Or it's a outlet. It's a method of being able to get out there and decompress and everything. And last year was a struggle for me because I never felt like I could. Because one, we were filming, which I can work with that, right? I've accepted that we film when we're out there, and yes, I can work with that. But the work and the constant problems and the constant fixing things, that was where it was becoming difficult for me. Because every time I went out there, or every time I was planning a trip, I was planning work. I was planning, I gotta go fix this, I gotta go change this, or I would feel like, finally, I have a trip where I can just go out there and hunt for 2-3 days, and I don't have to worry about anything else. I can just go out there and just hunt. That's it. And then you get out there, you roll up to your stand, and your feeder's on the ground, or your fence is down, or your blind has blown away, and you're left with stuff that you have to fix. You got to change your plan. You got to go hunt somewhere else. You got to come back the next day and fix that, or whatever the case might be. And then, cameras and other stuff, it was just, if it wasn't one thing, it was another. And that was very challenging last year, to find the love and the passion, the appreciation for the outlet, if you will, because it didn't feel like it was there. And then I had, there was good things. There was anticipation in last year and everything. And I was able to, get excited about some things, like we've talked about this in our show before, killing, we had a bunch of big bucks running around, and Nick and I were certain, like, one of us is going to kill one of these jokers. There's no doubt about it that one of these big guys is going down. And it didn't work out that way. And again, we talk about balance, right? And I'm balancing my job, I'm balancing hunting, I'm balancing family, and I got 2 young kids, and I'm trying to be, considerate of my wife and her time and the efforts and stuff that she puts in at home, which is harder on her when I'm gone and she's, for days at a time, and she's alone with the kids. Keep in mind that I'm a firefighter and my job has me gone for days at a time, and then you, on top of that, put me out in the woods for days at a time. That can quickly, without forecasting and planning, that can quickly turn into her being alone weeks at a time. So I have to be mindful of that, and that's a lesson that over the years I learned the hard way. But trying to be considerate of that, and we talked about this in episode 165. I talked about, had a conversation with Todd about bucks that we lost last year, because I had a hunt in the middle of November, and the rut was starting to ramp up, and I knew, I told my dad and Nick, who were out there with me that trip, I said, this is my last chance to kill a buck this year. I've gone all of October and half of November, and I have not shot a buck. This is my last chance. This morning coming up, like the last morning of that trip, this is my last hunt where I have a chance to kill a buck, because I knew that I had 2 weeks later, or a week and a half later, whatever it was, I had my Colorado mule deer hunt coming up, and then after that I had our veteran hunt coming up. And just with those things in my personal life, again, trying to plan out my season with my wife and everything, it was like, okay, this week of hunting on Texas dirt, this is where I'm going to draw the line, and I'm not going to hunt again till late season because I have these other trips planned. And that morning, what happens? A buck comes in, a buck I'd never seen before. I make the decision, I'm shooting this joker, and I shoot high. I make a non-lethal shot on a buck, a shot that I have practiced countless times, a shot that I should have been able to make, but I couldn't range him. I had to judge yardage on the fly. I had to fling an arrow quick, and I shot high. Never found the deer. I'm 90% certain that I have a picture of him on camera later in the season, but that's beside the point. I was beaten. I was defeated at that point. That was my low point of the year. And then I have in the back of my mind, I'm about to go to Colorado and bow hunt mule deer that I've never done before. And I'm going to be expected to make a shot twice this far, if not more, on a mule deer buck and kill him. And I'm probably only going to get one opportunity in the whole week. So that's in the back of my mind too. And then episode 166, 167, 170 of our podcast, that's the Colorado mule deer saga from last year. And episode 166, guys, I think that's my favorite podcast episode we've ever recorded on this show. And I'm not over exaggerating or just trying to hype up one particular episode. That is my favorite episode, because I'm in mule deer camp. I'm recording in person with 2 very good friends, right like the evening after I killed a buck up there. And it worked out. It took a lot of work. It felt like a TV show, right? You stalk in on a buck through a CRP field, takes you an hour and a half to get in on him, 28 yards with a bow, smoking. And he's not a giant by any means, but he's might as well be the biggest buck I ever killed in my life as far as I'm concerned, because I'm proud of that deer, of the work and the effort that we put in to even get to that point where I could put a stalk on him, even to come up with the plan for that stalk, but then to execute it and actually get a shot off and actually kill him, it's second to none. Like, yes, he's not the biggest mule deer in the woods, but he's my mule deer. He's my first mule deer, and he's a mule deer with a bow, spot, and stalk. So I'm proud of that deer, and that's an example, right, of last year of getting a fire lit under me again. I was at my all-time low for the whole season, probably, for probably the lowest I've been in multiple seasons leading into that trip, and then that trip pulled it back out of me. And then I got to go on our veteran hunt, and I got to be a part of a very successful and awesome experience, getting to take Larry and Bridget out there and get her on a good buck and watch her excitement when she killed them, and just the excitement to be out there. And we were watching crazy deer. Like, it was insane out there. And we recorded a podcast on that too. I think it's 168, but getting those experiences kind of pulled me back out of it, right? I got off of Texas dirt. I got out of my little whirlwind that was just driving me insane. And I got somewhere else, and I refound my passion, for hunting in the outdoors and everything. And then I got back out to Texas dirt. I gave it a good old college try to try and finish out the season and get some meat on the ground. I was unsuccessful, didn't even fling an arrow. And then my focus just kind of shifted, and we all get into that postseason lull. Everybody talks about that, but the thing about us with Fall Obsession is we can't let ourselves get into that lull. We have to keep things rolling. We have to keep the momentum going, and we shift from one season to the other. And when there's downtime, when there's an off season, we got to find stuff to fill the gaps. And overall, our organization is very good at that. I feel like it's just those times in between can be very, very challenging. Sometimes from a content creator standpoint. And then I have, it's just life, guys. Everybody's been there, if you're not there right now, where things are just crazy busy. You're bouncing from one place to the other, and you feel like you don't have time for anything. I'm building a fence right now. I'm doing training at our fire department. I'm, doing this stuff for our union or association. I'm doing, I'm trying to edit videos. I'm trying to produce a podcast video every week. I'm trying to build a fence at my house. I'm trying to, do a bunch of stuff down here on just our homestead. We live on 2.5 acres down here, and it's not a lot, but it's enough to keep us busy. And I'm trying to get as much work done out here as I can before it gets hot, because in Texas, I do not want to be out there building fence when it's 100 degrees or more outside. So it's just one of those seasons where, you kind of feel bogged down and like you're being pulled a million different directions, and you don't know, you're juggling commitments, and that's kind of, what you have to deal with sometimes. But you can't quit, right? You can't just throw in the towel and say that you're done. And I appreciate you guys listening to this. While I said at the beginning I don't want to ramble, I definitely, from this side of the microphone, feel like I've been rambling. You guys may think that, you may not. You may, I don't know. I would hope that this look behind the curtain of Fall Obsession, the podcast, Sam Thrash, kind of gives you guys a little bit of, perspective, or, just understanding, or just general education. Like, oh, I didn't know that was how that worked. Again, I hope this isn't just an episode of me aimlessly rambling. We've never done a solo episode before, and but you can't quit, and that's not where I'm at, and that's not who I am. Like, it doesn't matter what, take one piece of my complex puzzle out, and one task or one thing that I'm left to complete, and I'm not gonna throw in the towel on any of it. That's not who I am. And there's people out there, that are role models or inspirations in that sense. And, both people that I know personally, and other people that I look up to. And I don't want this to sound cliche, but I do find value in some of the messages and the the vision, I guess, the inspiration that these guys bring. And Cam Hanes is a big one. I've been listening to his podcast. I've read his book. That's one dude that is no challenge too small. I mean, that's a dude that continued to work his normal job even after he was somebody in the outdoor industry, just because he wasn't a quitter. It's just, an inspirational person for sure. And he has very, very inspirational people who bring some sustenance to a conversation on his own podcast. And so I find value in that. The other one is Levi Morgan. And while I can't say that I know Levi personally, I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple times. I've had the opportunity to shoot with him once, which was awesome. But another guy that just hasn't given up, never gave up. And I mean, he's talked about in various interviews and stuff like that on his own show how, they had, right before he started winning world championships and making shooting and hunting his living, they were at rock bottom. They had nothing. And these are people who have pulled themselves out of deep dark places and pushed through and found the light and found what they were searching for and made something out of themselves. They weren't handed anything. So again, just a couple quick examples of folks that are inspirational in that sense. And perseverance builds strength, right? It builds character, it builds strong leaders. Another person that I do know personally, and I'm proud of it, is Johnny Mac from Soul Seekers. Johnny Mac is a good friend of mine. We got connected, I think, for the most part, thanks to Carbon TV and through that network, but I can't take any credit for it because Johnny Mac found us. He subscribed to our newsletter through our website, and then he just sent a general inquiry email to Fall Obsession, and I stumbled across it. Was like, who is this guy? And turns out he only lives 40 minutes away from me, and the rest is history. It's been an awesome relationship. But that's a guy who's doing something similar to what we're doing as far as the phase that he's in the hunting and outdoor industry, in the growth of his organization. We're not this exact same company, as far as what we do a lot of things similarly, and there's things that each of us do better than the other, or have more experience in than the other. And through that, we're able to bounce stuff off of each other. We're able to kind of help inspire one another and encourage one another. He's definitely done a lot of encouraging for me personally lately, and I'm very grateful for that. But another just great dude in this hunting and outdoor industry that is grinding away at it and trying to build something genuine. And that's what we're trying to do, I guess, is we're trying to build something genuine. And we've talked about that over the years on our content about, we call it blue collar content, like a higher quality blue collar content. And we're just like everybody else. And I think that's what we're trying to say when we brand ourselves as such, is that and not that there's anything wrong with people who make a living in the hunting and outdoor industry. It's just the hunting and outdoor industry is a very difficult realm to excel in. It takes a lot of work or a lot of money or both to become something in the hunting and outdoor industry. And I'm a fireman. I don't have the whole lot of money portion of it. So it comes down to the whole lot of work and the consistency and the drive and mentality to continue executing and building and chasing that dream, chasing that next thing, right? And I've talked before, definitely one-on-one personally with a lot of folks over the years, about how difficult I have found this industry to grow a brand in. I joke with my wife and with other people close to me. I'm like, of course I picked the hardest industry in the world to try and, start a company in. And there's some truth to that. And I don't want to knock anybody for chasing their dream or anything, but there are so many people out there who are trying to do what each other's doing, who are trying to have a show or a podcast or a YouTube channel, or just be somebody on social media. There's so many different things that folks are trying to do and trying to be, and it's so saturated with that you have to be able to set yourself apart. You have to be able to have that it factor, I guess is the thing. You got to find a niche. You got to find a spot in the system, or a glitch in the program, whatever it might be, that you can slip through to make it. And we've been grateful for a lot of great partnerships, a lot of great collaborations, and especially the Carbon TV family has been extraordinary for us. Being able to get plugged in with that network and the growth that we've seen from that, I can't say enough about that. Jules and Autumn and the crew over at Carbon has just been incredible to work with. But it's things like that, and then the perseverance, the drive, and all that leads to the growth. It leads to the development of something bigger. And guys, I mean, I don't know what the future holds for Fall Obsession. I do know that you will continue to see us doing this. You will continue to see podcasts coming out, and I don't know if we'll ever be doing a solo podcast again, but on that note, please let me know, whether it's through comments on social media or just even sending us a message, through Facebook or Instagram, wherever, our website. Just let me know what you thought of this, because again, that's how we figure out as Fall Obsession, what we can do better. We get a lot of feedback from folks on our various shows. Texas Dirt, for example, I've had multiple people give me feedback on, hey, I really like when y'all do this. Y'all should do more of this. Hey, stop doing this. I don't like this. And just honest people like that are how we are able to make our content, again, what is going to work and what is best for you guys, because we're here for the greater hunting community. We're all in this together, and the goal and the mission behind Fall Obsession is that we're able to better educate and better build hunters and outdoorsmen across the country in every region and every realm of hunting through experience, right? I don't consider myself a subject matter expert at any of it. If I was at hunting whitetails in Texas, I should have killed a 160-inch deer last year, but that obviously didn't happen. It's just we learn through mistakes, and we learn through success as well. And if we can make those mistakes and share those mistakes and share the success and share what worked, hey, we went through this, we tried this worked, this didn't work, that's what makes everybody better, right? That's what leads to everybody's success. And that's what we're trying to do when we talk about the blue collar community and our part of it. We're just like it. We have the same struggles. We're just like everybody else. We have the same struggles. We have the same problems, and we're working on solutions, and we're trying to find those things. And I'm speaking in large part, on what we share through this podcast, through Texas Dirt, through Midwest Mindset, and I'm getting specific with all those things. But then it trickles down to everything else, right? It trickles down to our Couch Chat series. It trickles down to our gear reviews and our educational articles. All of it is for the greater hunting community. Because even if you aren't having an issue right now, maybe you can look back in a couple years. If something comes up, you're like, man, I remember Fall Obsession wrote an article on that. I'm going to go find that. Or they had an episode on Texas Dirt where this happened, or whatever the case might be. I heard a podcast about this. That's what it's all about. It's about growing a hunting and outdoor family and being one in unity. This is not going to hunting, and I keep going around and around. Hunting is not going to exist for future generations if we don't invest now in current and future generations. If we don't share our passions and share our experiences and try to, make this part of somebody's identity and not just a pastime, we have to take that initiative. And I'm talking not just about Follow Up Session, I'm talking about everybody at this point. We all have to take that initiative, and we have to invest in the future of hunting in the outdoors, because that's the only way that it's going to survive. Whether that's through a platform like Follow Up Session, or you having your own YouTube channel, you filming your hunts, or you writing articles, you sending in written publications for magazines or websites, wherever you find your passion, just taking a new hunter, a youth or an adult onset hunter out in the woods for the first time and sharing your passion and your knowledge with them. That is the investment that we're talking about. And that is the investment that we are trying to promote and be a part of ourselves here at Follow Up Session. So I'm going to start wrapping this one up. Again, I hope that this wasn't just me getting on here and complaining, venting, rambling, whatever it might be, or maybe it was all the above, and maybe it was all the above and you thought it was great. I don't know. Again, I would like feedback on the solo episode side of things, because we've done 185 episodes with guests, and this is the first solo episode that I've ever done, and it feels weird, and because I'm not sitting here talking to somebody else or having a conversation or asking questions, answering questions, whatever it might be, I do feel like I ramble, but I hope that there was some some sustainability, I guess, in the content and I want to say conversation that I shared, but it wasn't a conversation. It was just me talking. But I hope you guys got something out of this, and it can help you, whether you're struggling with something similar to what I personally shared, whether you're just wanting to peek behind the curtain, or maybe you're trying to grow your own brand or your own name in this industry. I hope that there was something in this for you that can benefit you in the future. We had a guest on our show not that long ago, a few episodes ago, Britton Wasmer. He's a hunting and outdoor photographer, videographer, content creator, and very good at it for sure. And he said in that episode, I would rather bet on myself. I will always bet on myself. He goes, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit for him here. I can't quote him verbatim, and I would have written it down if I thought of it, but it just popped in my head. But he's like, I would rather bet on myself than anybody, because I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of. I know what my drive and my work ethic and everything can be, and that's the mentality that he talked about in that podcast 182, and he's right. That's how it should be for all of us. We should all be able to work hard and grind away at whatever we're passionate about or whatever we're trying to build, and that's what it's going to take. It takes work and effort and drive and the right mentality, the right mindset to push in, to push onward, and to make it happen. So I hope that's an encouragement to you guys if you're struggling with any of those things, like I said. And yeah, we're going to keep this thing going. Please let me know what you think of the solo episodes, but I could probably get off on another rabbit trail if I just kept talking about things, but I will wrap this up now. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to me talking about all this stuff. Please give me your feedback. If you haven't already, be sure that you follow Up Session on all of our social media platforms. We benefit from your support, and even if you have a tight budget, can't afford to buy merch or sign up for the turkey contest or whatever you might have going on, if money's not in your mindset to support a small hunting brand, the easiest, Best way that you can support us or any other outdoor hunting organization out there is simply by following. Go to our social media pages, like, follow, all that kind of stuff. Watch the shows on Carbon TV, watch the reviews on YouTube, subscribe so you see when that stuff pops up, listen to the podcast. That is how you help build a better hunting community. That's how you help us. And again, I'll give you guys the peek behind the curtain. Every time that you watch, every time that you like, every time that you share, every time that post, that picture, that video reaches somebody else, it comes back to us in the form of data, right? And data is, in this online world that we're in, data is what helps us grow. Data is what helps us cultivate new relationships with other organizations in the industry. Data is what helps us bring you more. And that's the cheapest and easiest investment that you can make into anybody that's grinding away at it and doing what we're doing. So be sure that you guys go follow along. Go to fallobsession.com, check out everything that we have going on there. Hit up Carbon TV and the shows that we have streaming on there. And support a small-time hunting brand, as I've said many times. Thank you all for listening. Appreciate it. And we'll be back again next week for another